Well, hello there. Here, how should I sit? Hello there. I want you to see my award. I am sitting. We are coming to you from my home. Not many people get to see my home, but I had some technical difficulties with the CMAX studio, so we're going to test this out. And if this works, we may just do it from home because I would rather not drive. Honestly, I'd rather not drive all the way downtown where the studio is at. And it's kind of cool. You see a little bit more personal side of me. Um, I think you all know I love Marilyn Monroe, so I have her here. And then this is my kitty cat shelf with all my deceased animals that I've had in my life. Not all of them, but some of them. I have some up here as well. This is my book award. This is my lovely, lovely book award. Look how gorgeous it is. Yep. It is from the International Impact Book Awards for Overcoming Achievement. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so happy to have you here. Basically, what we all do is just kind of reflect. And please say hello in the chat. This is a safe space for us all. Um, so basically, I'm just reading from my chapter, or from my book, I'm sorry, from my book, chapter by chapter. And I'm just sharing a little bit deeper between the lines. So just giving you a little bit more intimacy, community, a safe space where maybe you might want to listen afterwards and then find some hope for your own self because I believe that we are not alone. Um, our stories are very connected, that we're only like a certain degrees apart between each other. Um, and then it's important to share our stories um, and not be ashamed, um, and just do what you feel you should do. Do as the spirit will do. I don't want you to see my fan right there, but I do have my Van Gogh, and then I have Marilyn Monroe. Okay. Anyways, all right, let's start this. So we left off session 2, I believe it was, where I was getting into being around my step family, and I shared about me and my dad and our special time together in the apartment. And then I shared about a bad experience that I had with uh, going down to the apartment just by my preschool, where Debbie was my birth mom, and it wasn't quite a wonderful experience because she was high and they didn't make me feel very comfortable. So I was born in 1977, and this is now going to begin between 1981 and 1983. So this is going to now go into where my dad met my stepmom, and I'm going to tell you about all that life. Okay, so hope you're enjoying, and please say hello. You pop in. All right. During 1981 to 1983, my father worked at Jesco. He met a woman named Linda, who was a programmer analyst. He was a fresh off the press IT guy as a systems analyst, computer programmer, while Linda had an office at the time. So my dad was kind of like the underdog. He kind of didn't have an office. He kind of was one of the back scenes kind of computer programmers. And my stepmom, this lady Linda, she was already kind of pretty advanced, and she was kind of more in the management and the behind the scenes, whereas my dad was kind of, I think, the brains, more the brains. She had brains too, but I think he was more brainy. Anyways, he would stop by her office because she always had like a big office, to talk while unscrambling the Rubik's Cube that she had on her desk. And she had all these toys on her desk. And I remember her saying something to us, well, it's to keep them occupied while I'm finishing up on things. They're sitting in my office, so why not give them something to do? So she had all these things to play with. So one of them was the Rubik's Cube. My dad really loved the Rubik's Cube. He was pretty good at a lot of little games and things like that. He was very smart. All right. So there's a Rubik's Cube on her desk. However, what always bothered her was that he would never remember her name. So my dad couldn't really remember Linda's name. Kind of funny. Then the company decided to do a reorganization of positions, which allowed my father and Linda to switch positions. The new position allowed Linda to climb the ladder very fast. They became closer and started liking each other during the first 2 years they worked together. Linda was a strong, independent, vibrant, and beautiful woman. My father was tall, thin, and handsome, with a mustache, sort of like Tom Selleck. And he was. He was handsome. Linda had also been remarried earlier, which ended in divorce. Her ex was chaotic too, like Debbie, which was my birth mom. She had 2 children from him. So she had 2 children from her first husband. My dad had just me from his first wife. So we were like a blended family, right? Them 3, us 2, the 5 of us. It didn't take long before my father and she went on their. Wait, hang on. Yeah, okay. Linda had been married earlier and ended in divorce. Her ex was chaotic like Debbie. She had 2 children with him. It didn't take long before my father and she went on their first date, a date that would go down in history books. One day, all the coworkers were talking in Linda's office, including my father, when everyone started talking about who had it easier on a date, the woman or the man. That's really still a great topic to talk about. My father was quite vocal. I wonder where I get that from. Uh, and about how the man has it harder. So he was trying to prove that the guy has it harder, which I think, I don't know, it's kind of 50-50 because the men have the expectations and the women have their it's just all these expectations. It shouldn't even be there. Don't even get me started on that topic because we would not even finish today's session. That's yeah. Okay. All right. So my dad was saying how vocal he was that men have it harder. But Linda said that was untrue because the man gets to decide everything while the woman barely even knows where she's going to be taken for dinner. So that is true. Sometimes we don't even know where we're going, and that is a little uncomfortable, especially nowadays. This is back in the 80s. But still, she was, you know, um, aware of those things. And I would be too today, even more so. So this is going on in the office, right? They're all having this conversation. So everyone started laughing and jokingly suggested how funny it would be to cross dress, play the opposite roles on a date, and that Linda should take my father out. Not one to back down from a challenge, she asked my father out on a date and told him to be ready by 6 p.m. on Friday night. So they agreed to the bet. My dad was going to be the woman, and my mom was, or stepmom, future stepmom, Linda, she was going to be the man. When the date night arrived, he got dressed up in a flowery dress to be funny and surprise Linda with it. She arrived a little late, so she did that on purpose because men are always late. Men are always late, so she did it, and I'm saying this because I live with the woman. She says the same story over and over, and she says that she did that on purpose because men are always late. Anyways, I'm not trying to fabricate anything here. Uh, so she arrived a little late and knocked on the door. She was dressed in jeans and a shirt with a blazer over it. So kind of like how a man would be dressed, with jeans, a shirt, and a blazer, professional. Uh, well, this was then. Still could be true now. When my father opened the door, Linda was amazed to see him in a dress. She started laughing, right? And he ran back to his bedroom to change because he was just like, I can't live with this. Like, this is ridiculous. I can't go out on a date and go through this charade. So he ran back to the bedroom and changed. After he came out, off to the date they went. So, like, he really had a hard time with this, right? Because he was really a gentleman. My dad was such a gentleman. All right. So they kept the gag up as Linda opened the car door for him, just like men would open the car door for a woman. She was playing the man, right? He's the woman. So she opened the car door, lit his cigarettes. At the time, they smoked cigarettes, which was awful. But yeah, they smoked cigarettes. So she lit his cigarette instead of him lighting her cigarette and decided everything. Like the man got to decide where they've got to go, what was going on afterwards, when you're going to be taken home. Like, I mean, it was a little more subdued. They went to a small restaurant and Linda paid for the entire meal, just like a typical man would pay for the entire meal. My father became concerned and uncomfortable with it all. He asked her if they could stop with the joke and if he could drive them home. So he allowed her to pay for it all, get through all of that. But then at the final end, he was like, "Can you just stop it? I need to just drive us home. Please let me be the man and finish this like the proper way for my dignity." And she agreed. And so he got to drive them home and finish the date like normal, man, woman. But I understand that that's plural these days, and I'm not trying to be singular. Um, it's very fluid here, the pronouns that I use. So forgive me. I am not trying to exclude or make anybody feel uncomfortable, but um, it was just pretty black and white. Now there's a lot more fluidity and variances of our gender and our sexuality. So um, I'm just speaking for them. I'm not trying to represent me because I try to be very loving and inclusive. So please don't let what I'm saying be anything reflective of me or you. This is just them. This is just my dad was a straight male, my stepmom was a straight female, and boom, bam, hardcore Catholics and Republicans. So, um, but please just know that I hold all of this he, she pronouns, they, I hold all of that in very serious love and consideration and grace to everyone who might be listening. Okay. I do not want you to feel uncomfortable. And I want you to know that I recognize you. I recognize you and you matter in all of this. Okay. All right. Okay. So he asked her if they could stop with the joke and if he could drive them home. Linda agreed. They went to the car, and my dad opened her car door, then drove them home. My father continued to see Linda and kissed her for the first time at a Rocky Horror Picture Show on their second date. So they were like at Tower Theater in Fresno. They went on a date at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I'm not sure if it was, it might have, I'm not sure it was Tower Theater. I'm not sure. Then came the time when my father decided to introduce me to this new woman in his life. I was ecstatic and anticipating meeting her. He explained to me that they worked together and that she had two children of her own. He told me that their father was like Debbie and was barely present in their lives, just like her. My father told me that she was kind, warm, and loving. By the time Debbie, which is my birth mom, had faded away from my life, by that time, Debbie had faded from my life because she was locked up in prison, I believe. Okay, so then the day arrived when I was supposed to meet Linda, my new stepmom, future stepmom potentially. She lived in a house with her two children, which was where my father took me one night so I could meet everyone over dinner. It was a beautiful one-story house with a large living room that had a fireplace and a dining room. There was a passageway through a middle room that had a door on both sides. It allowed you to cut through that room and enter the bedroom and hallway, not having to go all the way around. So let me explain. So the house was pretty cool. So you walked in the front room, the front door, and it was the big living room. There was a fireplace. And then off to that side was the dining room, and then the kitchen, and then a little bathroom where the laundry room was. But then if you went to the left, there was my parents' master bedroom. Then there was a long hallway that had a bathroom and then a back bedroom and then a middle bedroom that was between like the hallway and that dining room area. So there was two doors where you could cut through the middle room and just go to the kitchen. But the thing was me and my sister had, well, you'll see, but Jason, my future stepbrother, had that room. That was his bedroom. So that passageway was kind of like a little blocked in ways, but it was a cool house. Just trying to kind of get that picture in your mind a little bit. All right, where am I? Okay, so it allowed you to cut through that room and enter the bedroom and hallway. Let's see. There was a large backyard. We had a huge, large backyard with a garage and a huge oak tree with green grass all around it. The house was clean and organized. I could tell that this woman, Linda, took good care of her kids and home. And see, that was pretty dramatic because I could tell that she took care of her kids. Debbie never had a clean home. This is my birth mom. She never had order or organized. There was not a lot of food, not a lot of furniture. It smelled. Um, so it was pretty apparent that this new lady that my dad was dating was obviously somebody of uh, just a better opportunity, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. It was different. Um, so I could tell she took good care of her kids and home. Her children accepted me immediately. She had two children, a son Jason, who was 5 years older than me, and a daughter Jamie, who was 2 years older than me. I liked her daughter Jamie instantly. Her room was very tidy and beautiful. She had all her dolls on a bookshelf, and her toys were in the closet, whereas mine was scattered all over the place. We played for hours in her room that night, and when it was time for us to go home, I didn't like having to clean up all the mess we had made. For over a year after that, my father and Linda continued to date. Since my father was broke most of the time, they didn't go out a lot to restaurants for dates. I liked Linda, but I didn't smile too much at her. I was quiet. I was quite spoiled by my father when I was alone with him, and my bedroom was never cleaned up, like I said. I had toys everywhere. I was always the kind of kid who sat in front of the TV with a bowl of cereal and blanket. So one day when Jamie came over to play, she was amazed by the mess of toys I had in my room. We played for hours upon hours, and when it was time for them to leave, I got really sad. My father calmed me down and promised me that they would be back. Yeah, it was pretty cool to have somebody to play with and talk to, and like this new positive influence I'd never experienced before. I'd always experienced a lot of dysfunction for the first 3 to 5 years of my life. My father continued to help Linda around the house during the 5 years of their relationship. So, they're dating and whatnot, and my dad's going over there, and we're starting to all hang out and get to know each other, and they're starting to form a relationship. And my dad was very crafty. He could fix anything. He was like MacGyver. If you know MacGyver back in the day, he was like MacGyver. There was nothing that guy couldn't put his mind to fix and just yeah. So she had stuff around the house, and he was a good gardener and mechanic and um, fixing things around the house. So you know, and then um, he played with my stepbrother, or well, Jason and Jamie. He started playing with them and started being a father figure to them. So it was really neat. Um, so, anyways, let's see. So they continued to date since my father was broke most of this time. Okay, as a kid. Okay. All right. My father, okay, so he continued to help around the house. She finally had a man in her life to help her with the yard and a positive male figure for her children because her husband was a dipshit. He was an asshole alcoholic, just like my mom was a dipshit alcoholic mom. So they had a bad dad, I had a bad mom, and together we formed something really beautiful. And Linda was technically a really good mom for me. And my dad was an excellent father to them. Then in 1982, my father proposed to Linda. Before my father, I'm sorry. Because my father did not have the means to buy a nice, expensive ring for her, he had to be creative about it. So, again, he's not making a whole lot of money. I mean, he was an IT guy, but he's not making a whole lot of money. So, he had to be creative. He went over to her house one night for dinner. Her kids, had gone to see their birth father, and I had gone to see my grandma in Exeter. So a lot of times I would be off visiting my birth mom's side of the family. They would be visiting their birth father's side of the family, and then they would have the house empty with all of us kids, and they had time to spend together alone. So later that evening, he proposed to her with a rose inside a box along with a note of proposal inside. It was very romantic, and she said yes. My father informed me of the news, and Linda told her kids. So we had that conversation. My dad told me this is what's happening. She said to them, "This is what's happening," and we were so excited. Um, all of us were thrilled at the exciting news. I had a new mom, along with new siblings to play with, in an actual home, while they had a new father and sister coming on board. For the next few months, they worked together on how each of them could get married in the eyes of the church. Linda was already divorced from her first husband and cleared in the eyes of the church. However, my father had a harder time since his first marriage to Debbie, which is my birth mom, took place in a Baptist church. It needed to be annulled first so he could marry Linda in a Catholic church and so their marriage could be recognized. So, Catholic churches have their very strong rules about marriage and especially divorce and annulment. And then the Baptist church is completely different than the Catholic. So, there was that stipulation that the Catholic put upon my dad, and he had to go through all that crap. I call it crap because I think it is kind of crap. Two people who love each other shouldn't have to go through all that. Like, get over yourselves, churches, whatever. Anyways, so it needed to be annulled first so he could marry Linda in the Catholic Church and so their marriage could be recognized. My father worked hard to get letters from people and establishments that could speak for why he needed an annulment from Debbie. He took all the evidence he had against Debbie, and won in court, thus making his marriage to Debbie, which is my birth mom again, okay, seem like it never happened. My father could then marry Linda, my future stepmom, and their marriage would then be recognized in the eyes of the Catholic Church. Afterward, Linda took me and my about to be new sister shopping for a dress for the wedding because we were the flower girls. So this was all happening, right? And then a couple days passed, and then she's like, let's go shopping. My stepmom loved to spend money. She loved to shop. She had the money. She made the money. So she spoiled us. Like she took us to Gottschalks and Weinstocks and Macy's and oh my gosh, she spent a lot. Costco, she spent a lot on us. Yeah. So anyway, so she took us shopping for dresses to wear for the wedding, right? Because we're gonna be the flower girls, me and my sister, new to be stepsister. We really never use the word step, but I'm just clarifying it because it needs to be. I got to make sure everybody knows step that it's not a birth sister. um, okay. So afterward, Linda took me and my about to be new sister shopping for a dress for the wedding because we were the flower girls. She picked out two gorgeous white dresses for us, which had ruffles all over them and spread like princess gowns. They were so pretty. We wore a skirt underneath that made it poof up. So there was these like wire skirts that you could wear and it made the skirt kind of poof up, kind of like a pageant doll, I guess, giving it almost like a Cinderella effect. I guess that's kind of like it too. She also bought us new shoes and picked out my first pair of black patent leather shoes. Like I had never had black patent leather shoes, and I had known that that was already an expensive thing. I had known from my grandmother on my birth mom, and I'd known from my grandmother on my dad's side. They both were fashionable. My grandma on my birth mom was kind of more poor, but my grandma on my dad's side was a lot fashionable, and so I learned about patent shoes more so from my dad's mom, my grandmother on my dad's side. So so then I picked out my first pair of black patent leather shoes. They were so pretty. They were so pretty. For herself, Linda chose a gorgeous mauve dress that was simple yet elegant. It was flowy and shimmered, making her look like a fairy. So when you get married twice, I guess you're not supposed to wear white twice. You can only wear white on your first wedding according to the rules. So she wore a mauve dress to indicate not the first wedding. Whatever. uh, she picked out clear glass-like heels. Then finally the wedding day arrived. And that morning, Linda did my hair. She parted my hair and gave me two cute ponytails. She placed ribbons around each ponytail and told me how pretty I looked. Then I got dressed up in my beautiful princess dress and off to the wedding we went. On March 20th, 1983, my father married Linda, and all five of us became a family officially. The ceremony took place first in Linda's mother's backyard because all of the court and church proceedings hadn't finalized yet, so they couldn't really get married in the church. Wait, am I reading? Oh no, I am. I have repeated a whole lot of stuff. Hi, Cheyenne. See, this is what happens when you do things by yourself. Okay, so we've spent 30 minutes capturing on what we talked about last episode. So um, now I'm going to go into. You already heard about their wedding. You already heard about all that. So they got married. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So far to go. Okay. Well, let's just get through this. So now we're on page 17. We're on page 17 or around that, whatever you're reading, because it's kind of off in the ebook, paperback, hardcover, and the audio. So I'm not sure where you're exactly at, but we are on page 17 in the first chapter, subtitle A New Home. Okay, so we're going to go another 30 minutes and then I'm just going to cut out because I'm so sorry. Next time I will know we could do this from home and maybe things will be better. So thank you for sticking with me. Let's do this. Okay, so this is, uh, they were officially married now. So this is a new home for me and my dad that I'm entering into. My father and new mom, although she is step, she is mom to me. So we didn't use the word step, like I said. I just called her mom. I didn't say stepmom. I didn't call her Linda. Um, so it was just she was my new mom. So my father and new mom provided us three kids, me, my stepbrother, stepsister, her kids, and me, with a fabulous life rich with love and opportunities. My parents continued to work at Jusco together and stayed with the company throughout my adolescent years and into college. My mom worked her way up the corporate ladder to become the senior vice president, while my dad climbed the ladder in IT. So she grew really high up in the ladder, senior vice president of the whole entire company, while my dad just kind of stayed in the IT department, just fixing things. And his job was very important too. So it just worked. So, anyways, my mom brought religion and church into my life. My siblings and I got enrolled in a private Catholic school, which we continued until the senior year of high school. So, I went to a private Catholic grade school, Our Lady of Victory, and I went to a private Catholic high school, San Joaquin Memorial. Then on to Fresno State. So, as a family, we went to church every Saturday night and we always prayed before meals. Life was normal and healthy for me once. Later, it would become the perfect thing to balance my other chaotic world. And what I mean by that was when I had to visit my birth mom, Debbie. It was completely different, or visit my grandmother, um, which was her mom. We celebrated Thanksgiving and Christmas every year. Everyone from both sides of the family would come to visit. My grandma Jay, my father's, so my grandma Jay was my dad's mom, my father's sister, Aunt Marlene, and her husband, and my father's brother, my uncle Ken, and his wife would come to see us. My grandma Elle and grandpa Poppy, which was my stepmom Linda's parents, would sometimes visit too, which were from my new mom's side of the family, so Linda. Then we would all sit around our large wooden dining room table that stretched out in the middle, making room for everyone. So they had the huge wooden table and it had like inserts. So you could pull the table apart and then you could put an insert and it would extend the table and make it longer for more people to sit around. It was very nice. Uh, we would have all the fixings, including mashed potatoes and gravy, my favorite, even ham, turkey, stuffing, green beans, and homemade chocolate pie as well. My first real Christmas was celebrated at that house, and this was the terrace house that I later talk about. And there's pictures in my book about. There's the terrace house and there's a Harrison house. And there's even the apartment that I lived on with me and my dad on Gettysburg. I even remember sneaking out of the living room in the middle of the night and seeing all the presents piled high around the tree, almost to the roof, and pressing against the windows. All the presents glowed and sparkled like jewels. They were all wrapped so beautifully that I had never seen anything like it before. Cookies were placed by the fireplace, half eaten, and the milk was gone. So I quickly ran to my room and jumped on my sister's bed. Jamie, Santa came, come on. That would wake our parents up and they would come out of their rooms. So I had my first like real authentic Christmas. I'd never had anything so fancy and so beautiful in my life. What they were able to provide was something I had never seen before. And I was a curious child. I always snuck around, and I just, I was very, I mean, I didn't really have a whole lot of discipline. My dad didn't really truly discipline me a lot. He kind of let me get away with stuff. And then when I was with my grandma, my birth mom's mom, she let me get away with a lot. And so did my birth mom, Debbie. So I snuck around and I peeked and I looked around, and I was so curious, right? So I went out there and I saw all these presents around the tree, and I was just like, I was amazed. And I was like, cookies? Cookies actually were eaten? Like, I mean, I'm a little kid. I'm like, I think I was like 6 years old, right? So I was so excited. So then my parents, of course, woke up, my dad and stepmom, and then we all started having presents opening up. But I remember that. Um, the rule, though, was no peeking or opening till everyone was up. So you had to wait till everyone was up, and us kids were like, get up, get up, get up, get up. That meant that I had to wake everyone up because I couldn't wait to tear through the presents. After everyone had woken up, my brother, sister, and I would sit in our spots on the carpet in front of the fireplace while my dad and Uncle Ken handed out the gifts to everyone. Then we would all open them at the same time and share what each of us had received. So it was just kind of a joint, nice, take your time, open up your presents, and enjoy. It would take hours. It would take hours to get through all the gifts. But once we were all done unwrapping all our gifts, it was time for the adults to tend to the food and for us kids to play with all our new toys. Soon the food would be ready, and again we would all sit down at the large table and enjoy our delicious meal together. This became the tradition. My sister and I would always play together. We would play games in the backyard and climb up the large oak tree in the backyard. It was huge, and its lowest branch was just low enough to allow us to jump high enough and grab it and then hold on and climb up the tree. Then we would swing our legs up and over the branch like a monkey bar. Once we were up on the branch, it was an endless adventure of where we would climb. My sister and I would climb as high as we could and then rest on the branches under the canopy of oak leaves that provided the cool shade. It was so neat in the tree. It was so neat. Uh, Sometimes some of the cats would join us. We had lots of cats up there, like we were in their house. It was so much fun, and I loved that tree. On the side of our house was a brick wall that had steps leading up to the end of the grassy area. So, like between one house versus the other, in some of the older neighborhoods, there's like this brick wall that kind of has like a staggered boom, 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 and it gets higher and higher. And then it's the main wall that provides the privacy for all the backyard. But the beginning part in the front yard kind of is like a staggered do, 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 do steps. And we would play on that. Um, okay, so where was. Okay. My sister and I would walk along the brick wall, then down the brick steps over and over again. So we'd go back and forth, balancing ourselves on the thick brick wall with our arms stretched out. We would often dare each other to do cartwheels without falling off. So we would do cartwheels on like this, it's like a balancing beam kind of like thing. It's like that, the width of a brick. Um, Unfortunately, during our younger years, my sister suddenly became very sick and had to be admitted to the hospital. So my stepsister got really sick. She got like, I forget what it was. It was a very scary moment for me, and I remember how my parents took me to the Valley Children's Hospital. So the Valley Children's Hospital back in the 80s used to be here in Fresno, and it was off of Shields and Millbrook. And now it's like a welfare office, I believe, but it was right there. Um, it was a very scary moment for me, and I remember how my parents took me to Valley Children's Hospital. They allowed me to see her through a glass window, and it broke my heart to see her like that. I remember putting my hand up to the window, scared and unsure if she was going to live or not. Thankfully, she ended up pulling through and making a full recovery. It was pretty serious. I think she got like pneumonia or something. I don't know. Okay, so her and I shared a bedroom together where we each had a twin bed with matching bedspreads. So we had two twin beds in our room, right? Because I shared a room with her. Hers was by the window and mine was by the closet. We would often pretend that the carpet between our beds, was hot lava between our beds, and if we stepped onto it, we would burn up. So we would jump from bed to bed, across our nightstand, back and forth on our beds, laughing ever so hysterically till our parents would come in and ask us to settle down. We'd be like running around. Um, we each had a desk and shelves above it. We each had like a desk, and then there was like beautiful shelves, and it was all wooden, and it was all across the wall. And then I had my desk and a chair. And then we had drawers. Like it was very fancy, very fancy. Uh, let's see. We each had a desk with shelves above it. There sat all our favorite dolls and ceramic princesses. We would catch butterflies and ladybugs in the field nearby, with wildflowers scattered everywhere. My sister was the best growing up and made my life so much better. She made me happy, but I never opened up to her in all our talks at night growing up. I loved my grandma in Exeter, but I didn't like Leroy or being alone with him. I loved my grandma L, Poppy, Grandpa L, and that side of my new family too. So at this point in my life, I'm going through a lot right now. So I'm still visiting with my grandma, which is my birth mom's mom. And that was a really uncomfortable, strange environment because my grandfather was an alcoholic. He was violent. Sometimes my birth mom would be around and she would take me and she was violent and alcoholic or drug infused. Or sometimes I'd be afflicted by my aunt Becky, and she would be drunk or high. And I didn't really like being around my grandfather. So it was really messed up. But I went there every freaking weekend. Every weekend, like clockwork. That's where I went. And I never talked about all the stuff I went through when I came home to Fresno. And I went to see them in Exeter. So I would travel from Fresno. My parents would take me. It wasn't fun. But I never talked about it. Nobody really knew. Anyways, okay. So we used to have cats. So with my dad, my stepmom, and my stepsister, stepbrother, we had tons of cats, and we had a dog. And it was really cool. It was like really normal. It was really normal with my dad, my stepmom. The only chaos was when I left and had to go on the weekends with visits. The other times was beautiful. My dad really gave me a beautiful life with my stepmom. So we used to have cats, and when those cats had kittens, my father would walk around the house in his robe in the mornings on the weekends and put a kitten in each pocket. He would. It was so funny. It was adorable. We also had a dog named Argus, and we got him as a cute puppy. It was more my brother's dog, but he grew into this gorgeous golden retriever. So we got a golden retriever puppy. He had a massive head with soft floppy ears. He was such a good dog. I would often lie in his fur while he lay on his side, and I would look up into the sky. I was usually the one in charge of feeding the animals. That was one of my chores. So we all had chores. My brother helped do the yard with my dad, and us girls helped with cleaning the house. And then I fed the cats, and Jamie, my stepsister, did the dishes. I set the table. Um, but yeah, so we all had chores. Let's see. That was one of my chores, and the other was setting the table. I loved feeding the animals. I would open their cans of wet food, bang the side of it with the fork, and instantly all these cats would come running from all directions, meowing and begging for their food. I loved how excited they got, prancing around my ankles with their tails, looking up at me with expressions that said, "Feed me!" And so I would ugh, and so I would put their food down on the ground and watch them devour it up. Then I would say goodnight to them all and go inside my room. Sometimes I would sneak a kitten into my bed, even though my parents didn't like that. But I often broke the rules. I did. I often broke the rules. There was an alley in the back. So there was this alley. So we had a fence and then an alley and then another fence, behind. So there was an alley in the back behind the fence of our backyard. The original fence was falling apart, so my father, being ever so crafty, rebuilt an entirely new and taller wooden fence. It was very nice and had a door to access the alley. So there was like this open door, and then you can put your trash cans out there and whatnot. It was very nice and had a door. My dad also built a dog run for Argus to play and sleep in, as well as to keep him contained when company was over. This beautiful dog run. I mean, it was deep and it was fenced and it had air and it was covered in shade and his little bed was in there. It was really cool. One night, an intruder once tried to break into our home and Argus protected us. He barked so loud and the scarily that the bad guy ran away. Another night, my father was near the alley and the dog ran when he came. One night, my father was near the alley, and the dog ran when he came running inside the house quickly. I don't know. Wiping himself off. Okay, so that's kind of confusing right there. So what it was he was outside by the dog run, and it was dark, and underneath the eave of the dog run, there was spiders. And my dad was really afraid of spiders, so they were out there doing the trash or whatnot like you always did. And so he got caught up in the webs. So there was webs, I guess. And my dad was freaking out. So, but it was pretty funny because he came running inside the house like quickly, wiping himself off. The cause was black widows. He was deathly afraid of spiders and got caught up in the webs back there. He said that they were everywhere and he looked frantic. But after things calmed down and we all started laughing. My dad often made us laugh with his goofy antics. One day while he was in the front yard, a bird sat on a bird sat on a telephone wire above him, and at just the right moment, poop landed ever so perfectly on his head. The look on his face is one I will never forget. He quickly went inside and washed his hair while he giggled. So he was like doing the yard. All these funny things would happen to him. So he was in the yard doing the things, he would do in the yard. And then a bird was just above the branch and just plopped on his head. Uh, Anyways, okay. All right. So we got about 10 minutes left to go and then we'll be done. We're not still done with chapter 1. We got a long way to go. Boy, this is going to be interesting. All right. During grade school, I played every sport that I could, including soccer, softball, volleyball, basketball, and even cheerleading, and the band, where I learned to play the flute just for a little bit. My parents were also very involved with the school, as my dad coached my sister and me in soccer. Meanwhile, my brother was in football, and dad recorded all his games. So we were all very athletic in sports and all that. When my sister and I were off riding our bikes, my father was building model airplanes and rockets with my older brother. They would spend hours putting together all the pieces, and then we would all go to an open field to launch them into the sky. I always loved watching my brother and father bond. They became close quickly. My father got the son that he always wanted, and my brother had a father he always wanted. His father was to him what Debbie was to me, and when we became a family, my father spent just as much time with him as he did with me, helping him grow into a healthy and stable person. So my dad was a really good dad to Jason, my stepbrother, um, and Jason adored him. I mean, they did so much fun stuff. I was jealous. Like I'd be like, I want to go, but like It was really cool. Like they shot off rockets and they would spend time on the field and football and just bonding in little ways, barbecuing or, with the dog. So maybe with the car, just different things. My dad was really good with him. My parents were on the PTA, the Parent Teacher Association, as well. And my dad even became the school carnival chairman one year. That was a lot of fun. Our entire garage and backyard were filled with every carnival game or toy you could imagine. Like if you think about every carnival, my dad had it all. Like I enjoyed it though because my dad allowed us to rumble through it all and have the first look at the prizes. So he allowed us to test the games, play with the prizes. Like it was really cool. Everyone knew my parents and had great respect and love for them and their contributions to the school. I always thought it was neat growing up in the dynamics my family put together. No one ever really knew nor cared that we were a blended family. My step siblings had traits like my father, and I had traits like my stepmom. All of us kids needed a stable set of parents, and together the five of us became a perfect family. We really did. It was really a beautiful family that we had. In fact, the word step, like I mentioned earlier, was never used around the house. In all of our opinions, we were blood. We became like the Waltons, where every night we would shout out "good night" to each other and slept with our bedroom doors open. We would. We would sleep with the doors open. We would say "good night, good night, good night, good night." That's pretty cool. My father would sometimes even do our hair for both my sister and me. Yeah, my dad would do our hair. He would put it in the highest ponytails, though. That always impressed my sister. He would put them. All right, we got 8 minutes to go. We've got happy times. I think I'm going to stop here a little early. We're going to stop at happy times. This is page 23. Let me mark this. Okay. So we'll just pick up back again on chapter 1 again, page 23. And we might do it from my home. I don't know. We do have a like. I don't know who that like is, but I appreciate you supporting me. And let's just stay connected. Just know that you're loved and you're not alone. And tell your story. Tell your story. Our stories need to be shared. So I'm going to end. Let me say goodnight. Ah, my computer. So I am going to try to put more of a schedule on my channel so that you can know when the future podcast sessions or whatnot are going to be, and then you can plan accordingly. It's going to be at 5:30 p.m. most of the time, or it's going to be at 11 a.m. on Saturdays. So 5:30 p.m. either on Tuesday or Wednesday or a weekday, depending on how things go. And then Saturdays, I'm going to try and do it always at 11 a.m. Okay, and I'm going to be having some guests coming too. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited. We're going to have Mars, who is a massage therapist and very intuitive to your body. She also has a very great story, and she makes jewelry, beautiful jewelry. Then we're going to have Howie and Jim, who are part of the Fentanyl Anonymous, FA. Jim lost his son to fentanyl, and Howie is an recovering fentanyl addict. So great interviews there. And then I'm going to also have Grace, who's an author. She's going to be coming on as well. So we got a bunch of things happening. So this is just the development of Dragonfly discussions. It's not just all me reading, blah, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. So that's where the studio comes into play, because I can interview people at the studio, and then they don't have to come to my home, and I don't have to share where I live. So you got a sneak peek into my house today. I hope you enjoy everything. This is art that I drew in my book, my award from International Impact Book Awards 2025 winner for overcoming adversity. This is really, really, really important to me. I can't believe it. All right. Okay. So I won't keep you anymore. We're going to close early. And let me just send this. And thank you, everybody. Have a great night.